QuickBooks Online 2021 Payroll Setup. Let's get into it with Intuit. QuickBooks Online 2021. Here we are in the Get Great Guitars practice problem. We're going to be looking into the setting up of the payroll. We're not going to get into a lot of detail on the payroll for a few different reasons. One is that because it's an add-on feature, typically something you have to pay more for, and we don't want anybody to not have access to the resources to follow through with the major points of the practice problem. And two, because it's something that could take a whole course in and of itself. We do have a course on payroll, so you can take a look at that where we go into payroll in basically more depth. And we may provide more information that is payroll focused after the major practice problem here, which this is kind of more of a general type of practice problem that we want to be focused in on. However, they did give us access in the 30-day free trial to payroll as well, without having to level up at this point. So we're going to, in terms of payment, in terms of fees, so let's go in and set that payroll up. Remember that as you think about payroll, you do want to talk to somebody else, and I would pay someone who you're not planning on paying for payroll, meaning not QuickBooks and not like a third-party vendor first, like a CPA firm that you're paying just for advice about payroll, to think about what the best option is, and then go forward with that option. If you go forward with it in QuickBooks, then you'll be setting up the payroll within QuickBooks. If you do it someplace outside of QuickBooks, you may get a report that will look something like a payroll register, and we'll take a look at a register type of format as well as we go through the practice problem to take a look at both items of it, but we're only going to have 2 employees that we'll try to set up here. So it says in payroll, I'm on the payroll tab on the left-hand side, and we're in the overview tab up top. It says, welcome to QuickBooks Payroll. Let's get acquainted. Just a few questions and you'll be on your way. So let's go ahead and get started with the questionnaire setup process. Have you paid employees in 2021? Answer yes if you, your accountant, or maybe even a previous owner of your business had paid employees. I'm going to say no, we haven't paid any employees thus far. If you're starting payroll in the middle of the year, you would like to avoid kind of moving from one payroll setup to another in the middle of the year, because there's these caps on payroll that can complicate the issue when you're dealing with payroll taxes. But if you do have to start in the middle of the year, you can do that. But you would prefer to start at the beginning of the year so that the transition will be as easy as possible. So when is your next payday? Pick a date and we'll get things rolling on our end. So I'm going to pay the payroll, and let's say we're going to pay it at the end of the month. I'm going to say we're going to pay it monthly, so we'll say monthly payroll for us to make it easy. Most of the time, you'll probably be paying like weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, or possibly monthly. So we're going to say the 31st of January 2021. That looks right. So I'm going to say next. And what's the primary work location? This is the address where most of your employees work. We'll use this as your primary work location. You can add additional work locations. So we got the Get Great Guitars. I'm just going to add a location here for our mock problem. It's going to be the 1426 Summit Ridge Drive in Beverly Hills, California, 90210. Then it says, who's your payroll contact? This helps us make sure that reminders and other important payroll info get to the right person. So I'm going to say Tom Smith, 555-5555, and at that email address, and next. Now we're going to add our employees. Now when we add the employees, you're typically going to need like a W-4 form. So that's the form you got to fill out, or employees typically will fill out, which will provide the necessary information for most of the things that you're going to need, including first name, last name, ID number, social security number, typically the marital status. Why do you need their marital status? It seems kind of nosy. I don't really care if they're married or not, possibly, or whatnot, but as far as work is concerned. But of course, we need that for the withholdings to get the proper withholding calculations, possibly, and then we need to know what the withholdings basically are going to be. So to do that, we got the W-4 is in hand for our employees. We're going to take our information here from this little worksheet. So I'm going to say we have then let's go back on over. The first name, last name, I'm going to say that we're going to say Adam, Madam, I'm Adam. And we're going to say Hamilton, Adam Hamilton. There we have that email address. I'm just going to say Adam H at gmail.com. And so we'll email an invite for those employees to view their pay stub and W-2. So, okay, invite this employee to track and record their hours in T-Sheets. No, I'm not going to set that up. T-Sheets is going to be something that a linked up software that's, I believe, owned by Intuit now as well, that you can use for your timesheets, but I'm not going to do that here. What are Adam's employee details and employee hire date and where they work? Why do I need this? So location, that's the location. That's what I want. The hire date, I'm just going to say at the beginning of January 2021, which is going to be the beginning of our practice problem year. How often do you pay Adam? Enter a few details and we'll work out your company's payroll calendar. So we pay Adam. Let's hit the create a pay schedule item here. Now we have either weekly, every other week, twice a month, or every month. So notice these two seem kind of the same, or twice a month and every other week, which is otherwise known as bi-weekly or semi-monthly oftentimes, but they're a little bit different. So just realize when you're picking those two options, if you were to pay it like every other week, it'd be like semi-weekly. So how many weeks are in a year? 52 divided by 2, because you're paying every other week, that would be 26 pay periods. 26 pay periods. But if you pay twice a month, then there's only 12 months in the year times 2, you got 24 pay periods. So they're actually different, 2 pay period different about on those two. But we're going to be paying every month for our thing here. And the next payday we're just going to say is at the end of the month, which I'm going to say is, let's just do it with the drop down. Now, you may not be able to do this as easily in real time because it happens to be January right now. And so if you're doing a practice problem and you can't, set up your payroll to line up exactly like this because you're in a future date, then that's okay. We will be able to put the information in manually as well, just to practice it. And then again, in a future presentation, we may just dive into payroll in and of itself so you can practice it in itself. But in any case, then the end of the next pay period, I'm going to say is the 31st. Note that I'm putting these two things on the same date, but they don't necessarily have to be on the same date. So you might have the pay period ending, but then the pay date being a little bit after that, so you have some time to process the payroll. But I'm going to keep it all in the same month there. Pay schedule name. So pay schedule name, I'm going to say every month. All right, I'll leave that. Use this pay schedule for employee you add after this one. So if we're going to have other payroll employees that are going to use the same payroll schedule, which we will, then we'll keep it here. So whatever we chose, which in our case was monthly, we're going to apply to others as we make them as well. So we'll save that item. And so there we have that. So now we're going to keep scrolling down here. They're going to say hourly. So we pay Adam hourly. Do we pay them hourly? I think we pay Adam a salary. So we're going to say we're going to pay Adam salary rather than hourly. And we're going to say $55,000 a year. Is that what we said in our practice problem here? We got, $55,000 a year we're going to say. And so Adam works 8 hours per week and 5 days a week. We'll keep that as the default. Does Adam have any deductions? Examples, retirement, healthcare. So we're not going to deal with those here. We will deal with those in like a payroll course. But we're not going to get into those here. Those would be other things that would be withheld. We're just going to take a look at the federal income taxes as the deductions here. So if they did, then you can add the deductions down here. What are Adam's withholdings? So you can find this information on the W-4 forms. So I'm going to enter the W-4 information for that. So W-4 has changed in 2020. What changed? Allowances are no longer used for the redesigned W-4 and are replaced by dollar amounts. So now we just got straight dollar amounts. What should I do? Print the 2020 form W-4 for employees hired on or after January 1st, 2020, or for current employees making changes. So got it. So then we have a nice mirror of the W-4 form here. So here's the actual W-4 form, which we're basically going to be populating. Adam Hamilton. We're going to give the social security number. I'll just give 7s here. Let's use the 7s. 7s on the social security number. We're going to say Adam lives at, let's say Adam is at 524 North Beverly Drive. in Beverly Hills, California, 90210. Federal filing status, single or married filing separately. I'm going to say that's the one. We'll pick that item, single or married filing separately. If employee marked box 2C, check here. So that would be 2C on this form. Single, married filing jointly, head of household. Sorry, that's 1C. 2C is down here. If there are only 2 jobs total, you may check this box. Do the same on Form W-4 for the other job. This option is accurate for jobs with similar pay. So I'm just going to leave it as not checked here. Dependent claimed in dollars. So we're going to have the dependent claim then in dollars. I'm just going to keep that then at 0. And then other income would be, if we had any other income, it would go here, deductions here, and then extra withholdings that we would then populate. Then we've got the California state taxes, which they still use the allowance kind of item here. So I'm just going to say 1 on that, and I'll keep the additional amount there. And then the tax exemptions, there are not common. So I'm going to say keep that as is. Let's go ahead and say done with that one. So it's not letting me do the social security number at the 7s. That's not good. Okay, so I added a mock social security number there that finally they took the mock social security numbers just for practice purposes here. So what are Adam's personal details? Add employee's personal date. So we're going to need the date. So I'm going to say this is on 12/15, and then I'm going to say 1978, let's say. How do you want to pay Adam? We can either have a paper check, direct deposit, 2 accounts. I'm going to say paper check for now because I'm not going to set up direct deposit, obviously. So we're going to go ahead and say done on that one. I'm going to try to add one more. Let's try to add another one here. And so this one is going to be for Erica. Erica, I'm just going to call her Smith, Erica Smith. Erica Smith. And I'm going to say this is at Erica s@gmail.com. That's not how you spell gmail.com. I'm going to uncheck this item. What are Erica's employees' details? And I'm going to say we hired Erica on, once again, January of the current year. And location, same location. Enter a few details here. So we're going to pay every month. So that's standard now since we did it last time. She's going to be hourly, this one, Erica. And we're going to pay her an hourly rate of, what did we say, $20? $20 an hour. That's what we agreed upon. So that's what we'll do because we're a person of our word here. Default hours. Default hours are going to be 8 hours per day and 5 days a week. All right. Does Erica have any deductions? We're not going to deal with any deductions like the retirement. We're just going to be dealing with the federal withholdings and whatnot. What are Erica's withholdings? Let's go into the W-4. This is where we had the problems last time, but we're going to not have any problems this time. I'm going to make up a Social Security and see if that flies here. We're going to say the home address for Erica is going to be, Erica happens to live at 67 Beverly Park, CT in Beverly Hills, California, 90210. And let's say that she's married. We'll say married. If employed, I'm not going to check that. Dependent claimed. I'm not going to have any dependents. I'm not going to do any of these items either. So we'll keep it nice and simple. California. On the California, we're going to say married and 2. Married and 2. So we'll see if they accept that. Looks like it's been accepted. Obviously, I just made up that information. So there is that. What are Erica's personal details? Erica was born, if you need to know, on 06/21/1979. I didn't take that. So we're going to say 06/21/1979. How are we going to pay Erica? We're going to pay Erica with a paper check because we don't want to set up the direct deposit. And so there we have that. And then we're going to say done for that one. There's our 2 employees. So I'm going to say done on the 2 employees. You're ready to pay your team. Okay, so you can run payroll using paper checks. Once setup is complete, you'll be able to pay your team using direct deposit, and we'll be able to pay and file your taxes. That's good. So I'll continue with the setup. And do you have workers' comp? I'm not going to be dealing with workers' comp right now. We would in California most likely, or possibly, but I'm not going to. That's okay. We can help find the right policy for your business. No thanks, I'll do the work myself. So yeah, I'm not gonna go, I'm gonna try not to deal with that right now. That's usually a state type of thing where we're just dealing with the federal stuff for our practice problem here. So we're set up there. Now if I go to my employees, then we should have our information for our 2 employees down here. So we got our information there, and if we needed to edit them, we can go into those employees, and then here's all the information related to them, and we can edit them if we so choose at that point. If we needed to add another employee, we can do so from this screen. So we're in the payroll screen, we're in the employees, we can add then the employees. We got contractors are located here as well. They'd be 1099 people, workers' comp, benefits, human resources, and compliance. So that's where we're gonna leave it for now. And again, going forward, we may be using this, but it might not fit if people are working outside of the same date range that we are working on. So we might do the payroll. We'll see how we enter the payroll in the future, but we'll do that in a future point when we start doing the data input in the next part of the practice problem.